Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Lakers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Welcome to SB Nation Reacts, a survey of fans across the NBA. Throughout the year, we ask questions of the most plugged-in Los Angeles Lakers fans and fans across the country. Sign up here to participate in the weekly emailed surveys. It's not a secret that Austin Reeves struggled this postseason. Sure, he was reportedly dealing with a big toe sprain during the final 2 games against the Wolves, but his play had been subpar even before that. With the Lakers getting eliminated in 5 games against the Wolves and needing to improve this offseason, the question for this week's survey is, should Austin Reeves be in trade talks this summer? If you're in the trade Austin Reeves camp, the rationale is simple. He hasn't demonstrated enough for you to believe he can be part of a championship caliber pairing with Luka Doncic, so moving on from him is in the Lakers' best interest. A contract extension is possible this summer for Reeves, but reports indicate he won't be signing one. He can instead become an unrestricted free agent next summer, and reports indicate he'll want $30 million a year in that new deal. If the Lakers don't see him as a player good enough to win a title with, then it might be time to trade him before he walks away for nothing in a couple of years. If you're in the keep Austin Reeves camp, then you believe in his skill set and want to see him grow and blossom here. Yes, he had a bad series, but that can be a minor setback on his journey to becoming a Lakers champion. There's no need to panic and trade him when he makes under $14 million a year. If the Lakers were to trade Reeves after doing the hard part, signing him as an undrafted player and developing him, it would be the dumbest mistake the franchise has made since trading Alex Caruso. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
Of ESPN was on, and I'm going to use the exact words that he used. He said that the Lakers expect the Lakers to be extremely aggressive this offseason. What does extremely aggressive? What is? If I said, what's that definition to you for the Lakers, what do you make of extremely aggressive? What kind of vision would that look like that by the time we're sitting here in a couple of months, what should extremely aggressive look like to you?
Extremely aggressive means they've added multiple pieces here. They are not sitting where they were in August of last year, where Lakers fans were, myself included, were in disbelief that they had chosen to sit out the offseason effectively. Now, the Lakers have been patient historically with they didn't feel like the right move was available. They've waited into the season. I think extremely aggressive means that's not going to be the Lakers this year. Means this Lakers team, Rob Pelinka, they've heard Luka say, yes, I want to stay with the Lakers. They're not going to take that for granted. They don't want to show up empty-handed on August 2nd when Luka can officially sign an extension with the Lakers. They want to present that extension to him and say, Luka, here's your extension, and you're going to be throwing lobs to this guy that we went out and got, and this guy is going to be with you, and this guy. We added these pieces. We have a team that's ready to roll, that's built around you, around your timeline. Sign right here. That's what extremely aggressive is going to mean. They add pieces that are going to fit with Luka's timeline to make Luka feel all warm and fuzzy about signing that contract extension with the Lakers. So I look at the backbone of that Mark Williams trade, and I think that is the starting point for all of these different trade discussions the Lakers are going to have, whether it's for a big or otherwise. It's Dalton Connect, it's expiring salary, it's future draft capital, and we'll see what Rob Pelinka can get done with that. Now, they have a very finite amount of resources to use to actually swing these trades. They do have a decent amount of expiring contracts. When we take a look at Rui Hachimura at $18 million, Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber at $11 million and $11.5 million, you've got expiring money you can potentially move. I expect multiple moves from the Lakers this year. That $5.6 million taxpayer mid-level exception, they're going to use that on somebody. And so I think that extremely aggressive means we're going to see them get, and I hope they do it, they're going to get not a guy, but the guy for the center position long-term. If that fails, that's where maybe you use that $5.6 million mid-level exception, taxpayer mid-level, on like a Clint Capella, Brooke Lopez, somebody like that you could at least tell Luka, hey, we got somebody to be at the position for the time being. But I think for the Lakers, extremely aggressive means they go get whoever they think is the long-term fit. Luka, this is going to be your lob partner for the next 5 years. Getting that guy is, I think, what extremely aggressive is going to look like.
Trev, you think they can do that without? Can they do that with the pieces they have without giving up Austin Reeves? Can you get the guy the guy that you're describing, that when you get to August 2nd and you're sitting in front of Luka? You know, it's interesting with Luka because I think there's two angles on this. I don't know how you felt, but I thought once the Lakers got Luka Doncic, I didn't really think there was going to be a lot of tension towards Luka, as in, hey, if things didn't work out, Luka, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Are you in shape? Are you not in shape? I think the way that roster was constructed, there were a lot of people being a lot more critical towards Luka during the season or during the playoffs, fair or unfair, that you're right. I think Luka is going to look at that roster and say, and I expect him to stay with the Lakers, but I think he is going to say, listen, I'm going to get more and more pressure on me, especially if you guys don't figure out how to make this roster whole. And I think everybody understands that the roster isn't whole, but to get a player that you think is going to be with Luka for X amount of years, can you do that with the pieces they have without giving up Austin Reeves?
I think so. I think the challenge with that for Rob, and maybe he's going to have to take some more opposing GMs out for coffee, I don't know, but the challenge for Rob is he showed his hand. He showed exactly what he was willing to give up to get their big of the future and what they thought they were getting in Mark Williams. So teams know that's the starting point, and teams also recognize how desperate the Lakers are to get a big, and so they're going to try to drive the price up. Fortunately, I think the market, there's a decent number of bigs that are going to be available. There's a few stopgap options that are out there in free agency as well. I think if the Lakers suddenly have the starting center job open to free agents, they're not able to get the guy on the trade market, they become the most attractive landing spot for any of these veteran bigs. So I do think that Rob's not in the worst position negotiating wise, but he has already showed his hand. I do think they can get somebody, though. I think they can get that guy. Finding somebody, though, that can be a lob threat, that can be a rim protector as well. It's not going to be necessarily an easy task, but I think they'll be able to get that done without including Austin Reeves. Now, of course, if you want to get into like Jaren Jackson Jr., Bam Adebayo, and I'm not saying the Lakers can't get these guys, but you got to be willing to part with Austin Reeves to get to that level. But when we're talking like the Nick Claxtons of the world, if it's you go back to the Mavs and you're talking Daniel Gafford or someone along those lines. I don't even know if Walker Kessler is a thing. Anybody sounds like he's probably not. But if we're talking like Mitchell Robinson with the Knicks, we're talking Goga Bitadze with the Orlando Magic, any of these kind of guys, yeah, you should be able to get a player of that caliber without including Austin Reeves. I'll tell you, I know the Lakers would not include Austin Reeves to get any of those guys. So I think they can accomplish it without moving Reeves, as long as they're not trying to get that like all-star tier big man.
There's levels. Yeah. And that's the best way to put it. And I think, I did a video, I think it was last week, where I'm like, listen, I heard the names, Jared Allen, Nick Claxton, you mentioned Gafford. Cool. All those players sound like they'd be great fits for the Lakers. I'm not giving up Austin Reeves. Basically, the biggest trade piece that I have for one of those guys. Now, if you start talking about different types of players that, like you mentioned, the Bam Adebayos, Jaren Jackson Jr., and again, we don't know if these guys would even be available, then that's a different conversation. That's a real conversation that you understand, what would be at stake if you want to get that caliber of a player. All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.
Percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. If you're part of that percentage who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support over here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot to go over today, and obviously the Lakers are in, once again, a very interesting spot. It is an interesting point of the offseason here with things opening up soon. The floodgates are soon going to open on the back of Rob Pelinka, and a lot of moves are going to be on the horizon here. But we have a bunch of updates to go over today, including one trade that is very intriguing. Stay tuned for that to the end. But let's go on and drop and go over this bombshell of a report from Bobby Marks here. So he said, expect Luka to sign a 3-year, $165 million extension with the Lakers in August with a player option into the 28-29 season instead of the initially planned 4-year, $229 million max extension. This is due to him being able to recoup the $350 million he's lost out on much sooner when the Mavericks traded him, because of course he's not eligible for the Supermax. So this is a pretty interesting wrinkle into the conversations now. And not only does it confirm all but confirmed. Bobby Marks, a very notable reporter, that the Lakers are going to be re-signing Luka Doncic, but it goes and gives an interesting amount. And most of us thought it was going to be 4 years, 229. That's what most of the reports said. But now at 3 years, 165 of the player option, Luka then opens himself up to another big payday in 3 years. And this is a pretty big report here. You can go into the full article and full little tidbit here from Bobby Marks. So he's eligible to sign either after the NBA Finals or August 2nd. So this is going to be happening sooner than later. And of course, the deadline for the extension is June 30th. Doncic and the Lakers can agree to a 3-year, $160 million extension after the finals conclude. But because he was traded February 2nd, the Lakers have to wait until August 2nd if the goal is to extend him for the maximum allowed for $229. But again, according to the report, it seems that the 3-160 is the most likely outcome. And going into some of the specifics here, the 4-year $229 is where the $51 million first-year salary replaces the player option. And of course, diving into some things here soon. The short-term extension would allow Doncic to re-enter free agency sooner and then recoup some of the money that he lost by being traded away from the Mavericks again because he didn't sign the Supermax and he wasn't eligible for the Supermax, so lost out on about $100 million. So in all likelihood now, all signs point to him signing the big extension, down the line, and then signing the 3-year, even though it is still big, 3-year 165 with the Lakers here in, the coming weeks, which is actually a pretty big, details here. You can see here, Doncic, for his part, confirmed to ESPN's Malika Andrews in an interview before the postseason that his intention is to remain with the Lakers. But while there should be confidence in Doncic extending, showing him what a post-LeBron James roster could look like is a major priority. And he says what to expect. Doncic signs a 3-year, $165 million deal with a player option 2028-2029 season. So a very big piece of news here. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on this, because there's a few different things here. Obviously, one, all but confirming, ESPN is that he's going to be staying with the Lakers in the future, and also is all but confirming, at least all signs point to at this point, him taking the shorter extension and missing out on $40-50 million right now in order, or even $60 million right now in order to $64 million in order to be open in the future to a bigger extension, probably with the Lakers, because he's still extremely young. We all know that. And it also is a interesting one because he'll have the player option 28-29 season. Rob Pelinka at this point, they gave up Davis, Max Christie, their 2029 first round pick, unprotected. They're going to be going in for Luka Doncic. They're of course going to extend him. There's obviously no doubt about that. But what they're going to do as well, I don't think they're going to argue with Luka about what the structure is. Whatever structure Luka wants is what you have to give him, just given the caliber of player he is, and of course, given what's on, what's at stake here for the Lakers and the extension. So some interesting news there. It's good to know now that, one of the benefits, I guess, for him, assuming that he's going to do the 3-year deal, he can sign it earlier than the August 2nd deadline for the 4-year deal. So we'll probably see it. I'm sure it's being negotiated now. We'll probably see it after the NBA Finals. Of course, the deadline is June 30th for the 3 years. It's going to be interesting. Let me know down below. A, does this make sense to you? Do you think it's worth it? And B, of course, whether or not you're happy Luka Doncic is a Laker here now, because again, they need some work to do. They need to, and it's very interesting. You see this part of the report here. While there should be confidence in Doncic extending, showing him what a post-LeBron James roster could look like is a major priority. You look at the depth chart now, there's not a ton of future-proof players. Obviously, Austin Reeves, assuming he gets extended, he'll stay with the Lakers. Other than that, LeBron, Rui, it's going to be on Rob Pelinka to really build this team now around Luka Doncic, because this is a player for the next decade, not just 2 or 3 years. He's going to be on the Lakers, we assume, and hopefully for the next decade of his career. So they need to build that out. And most importantly, they need to get a center. And speaking of a center, you can see this article that dropped here yesterday. NBA trade ideas send Celtics Kristaps Porzingis to the Lakers. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So, as you know, if you're following the Celtics at all, they need to trade Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis to get out of the luxury tax. They have new ownership, all these different things, and they want to get out of the luxury tax, I guess, horrible situation that they're in, right? The stranglehold, the grip hold. The Celtics need to make trades this offseason. We all know that. And Kristaps Porzingis is on the trade block. The Lakers need a true center, but would they be open to a Doncic-Porzingis reunion after the pairing flamed out a few years ago in Dallas? Adding James to the equation could help them this time around, but the Lakers may be looking for someone more durable in their center spot at this price tag. Boston is simply turning Porzingis' salary into cheaper, more easily movable options in this type of deal. With the Vincent and Kleber expiring deals, if the Lakers are looking for a defensive-minded center, they'll probably search elsewhere. So this is interesting because the Lakers would be able to, in theory, match salary, and depending on how many assets they'll give up, they wouldn't have to give up a ton of assets. So value-wise, it'll probably be a bit of a steal of a move here. You also get to repair Doncic and, Luka. Will Luka want that? Luka's going to have the biggest say out of anybody in who his center is going to be. I don't know if he wants it, but if he does, this would be very, very cheap. Now, cheap in the sense of assets required to get him, because he will make $30 million next year, 30.7, which is a ton. That's why the Celtics are moving off of him. But if you're able to get him for cheap, I don't hate the trade at all. Because you can see this here again. He won the championship after winning the championship last season against Dallas in 5 games. Boston lost to the Knicks. It's interesting. Porzingis averaged 19, 6, and 2. He is a stretch 5. He would fit this team very well. Only 29 years old, but again, if Luka didn't like the chemistry there was always a little bit of behind-the-scenes drama between Luka and Kristaps. So you obviously don't want to bring that into the fold. But if they can get him for cheap and take advantage of the Boston, Celtics unique situation with the Tatum Achilles tear, and of course there being new ownership, it could be a very interesting acquisition for cheap. I don't think this would be the main center grab, but if he's your backup center, or even you play him alongside Claxton or someone else, it could make a lot of sense if you want to go for huge lineups here. Let me know down below. It's an interesting one. He's efficient. He's good when healthy. He hasn't been healthy though. He's been extremely undurable, and as a result, Celtics are obviously trying to trade him, but he did win a championship just last season, so I don't hate it. I think that it could make some sense given the right situation, but of course, at the end of the day here, the player who's going to have the most say in this is Luka Doncic, because he's going to be making the decision on his future. One other thing here, I just want to throw this out there. Robert Horry kind of threw some shade at Luka Doncic. We'll have a full video covering this, but he basically talks about how bad his defense is, talking about his hustle, talking about his lack of hustle, give up 40 points, scoring 35. It's interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, Luka Doncic looks like he's in the best shape of his career. The Lakers look like they're ready and poised to have a good year. It was never this past year. This was never going to be their full year. It's now what they do the offseason to prepare for next season.
The Los Angeles Lakers continue their search for the ideal big man in the offseason. After being linked to several players to address their issues, the Lakers may have yet another offer that could see them solve this problem. As constructed, the Purple and Gold have virtually no big men on their roster. With Jackson Hayes potentially on the way out in free agency, the Lakers have effectively depleted their resources of centers. To make matters worse, the team has also been torn about their position on forward Rui Hachimura. With the likelihood of Hachimura being included in trade packages, the team may very well be devoid of frontcourt depth. The factors in the Lakers' favor are that they still have the non-taxpayer MLE available to them, allowing them to potentially sign players like Clint Capella. Additionally, they also possess limited but relevant assets, giving them more flexibility with signing centers. But the larger concern now is their lack of frontcourt depth, i.e. the wings. Their interest in DeAnthony Melton could be of some benefit in this regard. But instead, we take a look at a trade proposal by Bleacher Report's Greg Swartz to help the Purple and Gold sign Utah Jazz star Lauri Markkanen. The acquisition of Lauri Markkanen could potentially reset the roster situation for the Lakers. At 7-0, Markkanen is a legitimate big man. Although he isn't a center by any means, he is a gifted forward capable of spacing the floor and creating shots for himself. Markkanen showed a lot of potential for developing into a star caliber player during his early years in Chicago. This became a reality during the 2022-23 season with the Jazz when he earned his first All-Star nomination. He averaged 25.6 points and 8.6 rebounds that season, while shooting 49.9% from the field and 39.1% from beyond the arc. And you, fan, what do you think about Lauri Markkanen's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments